Okay, welcome back to section 8.3, which we're dealing with adding real numbers. So basically this whole section, we're going to see a lot of positive numbers and negative numbers. We're going to see integers. So I'm going to try to show us several ways to begin with this. And like with anything, for me, pick the way that you understand the best. So if I look at the first example, I have negative 8 plus 7, okay? So now in my previous classes, I will have answers that may be negative 25, positive 25, 11, and negative 11. Those are usually my answers that I will get throughout this section. Now, what answer will it be? Well, let's think about this. Negative 8 plus 7, okay? Now, one method you can use would be switch the signs. So now that 18 is positive, now you're subtracting 7, which gives you that 11. But by switching the sign, since that's positive, that's going to turn negative. So my answer is going to be negative 11. Okay. Also, if you want to see this as on a number line, if this is negative 18, and that means I'm adding 7, or I'm going to the positive end of the number line, 7 spots, then I would count it as, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is negative 18, negative 17, negative 16, negative 15, negative 14, negative 13, negative 12, negative 11. Now some of us can just go ahead, which is perfectly fine too. As you know, you can subtract the 2, and since that negative sign goes to the 18 and that's your larger number, that means your answer has to be negative 11. So that's several ways how we can approach this. So this would be the correct answer, the negative 11. Now, what about this right here? Negative 15 plus 15. So say if you owe me 15, you pay me back 15, that means you owe me nothing. That's why it's 0. So we can also use this as money, because most of us in here understand money. Now, this next one is, I'm going to use this as a stacking method. If I've got negative 10, but then I'm adding a negative 16, so all we're doing is if you owe me 10 and owe me 16, you're still owing me, so all you have to do is add everything up. So if they have the same sign, your answer is going to be the same sign. That's why this is a negative 26. Just think about this for a second. A 10 and a 16. Well, both of them are positive. So our answer we know is 26, but I mean, technically it's positive 26, but we just don't use the positive number. Some fields that use this would be something like chemistry, dealing with electrons and protons, but that's not what we're doing. So basically, if both answers are positive, your answer is going to be positive, but you don't have to put the positive sign. You just have to make sure if you're using a negative sign that you carry the negative sign down. Okay, so next, negative 4, negative 6, and then we're adding a negative 8. So all of them are negative. So I know my answer is negative. So I know 4 plus 6 is 10. And then if I add the 8, that means it is negative 18. Now 9, negative 6, and 8. So 9, a negative 6, and an 8. So if you want to, you can go ahead and say, okay, 9 minus 6 is 3. Then I will add that 8. And that gives me an 11. Now we're going to have to use our PEMDAS, or orders of operation. So what we're going to do is we're going to still keep this negative 10 here, but we're going to do what's in the brackets first. So I've got a 7, a negative 5, and a 3. So 7 minus 5 is 2, plus the 3 gives me a positive 5. So negative 10 plus 5 gives me well, if you subtract it, it's 5, and since that 10 has the negative and it's a bigger number, your answer is going to be negative. So your answer is going to be a negative 5. Now, once again, if you want to go ahead and say, okay, make the 10 positive, make the 5 negative, there's my 5. But by switching the signs, your answer has to switch the sign. That's why it's negative 5. Okay, next is a new term. It's called additive inverse. Okay, what this means is this. If I have, say, a 10, what number do I need to give you 0? Well, in this case, my example over here, I would need a negative 10 or a minus 10. This is the additive inverse. It's to make the 10 a 0. Let's just say you had a negative 20. How do you get 0? Well, it's always the opposite sign, so I know that I need a plus 20, so my answer would be 20. So what do we think A and B are? Well, to get 0 from 4, I need to have a negative 4 or a minus 4. And if I'm given a negative 5, that means I need a positive 5. Now, we've heard that two negatives make a positive. So when you have two negative signs, you can always say that that turns out to be positive 7.5. Or we can also think about this too as a negative 1 and then distribute that or multiply that in. So a negative, that's where a negative times a negative gives you that positive 7.5. Now, if I have the absolute value of negative 1/3, one of our previous sections we have dealt with absolute value sign. So whatever is in the absolute value sign, it comes out positive. We do not switch the sign. So for example, if this was like a negative, or if this was an absolute value of 1/6, you do not switch the sign. The answer would still be 1/6. It's the positive. And finally, if I give you m plus n, and I want you to tell me what does it equal, all you have to do is switch in your numbers. I've got a negative 30 plus a negative 50. So remember that you bring down your sign because they're the same. So if you owe me 30 and owe me 50, that means you owe me 80. So I hope this helps out with understanding adding real numbers. My next section is going to be 8.4, which will be dealing with subtracting real numbers. Thank you for listening.